Welcome everyone, and thank you for coming out to the 2024 Stand Against Racism event in Janesville. I'm so excited to see so many faces, and especially our young participants from the School District of Janesville. The weather cooperated, so we're able to be outside together, so I'm grateful for all of those things. My name is Amy Levy, and I am proud to serve as the YWCA Rock County Racial Justice Director. I'm excited to see each of you and want to start our time together with a few thank yous. Thank you to Rock County staff, specifically facilities, for helping to always make this a smooth event. They do such a great job with setup, and we are grateful. Thank you specifically to Randy Tarones for being an exceptional organizing partner. Thank you to Josh Smith and his support each year. Thank you to everyone from the Rock County staff for attending, everyone from YWCA Rock County staff who is here. If you could just wave your hand, please, my wonderful colleagues. And thank you again to each of you for taking time out of your schedule, because that signifies that this is important work to you. For over 100 years, YWCA Rock County has and continues to be a driving force for change in our community. Our mission to eliminate racism and empower women has been strengthened and continues to be tested. The charge of the Racial Justice Program is to foster ongoing discussion, lead community activities and trainings focused on race, human rights, oppression, and privilege. This year, our Stand Against Racism campaign, which comes from YWCA USA, centers around the theme of building bridges to equity. During the YWCA's annual Stand Against Racism campaign, we rally across this nation to declare that it is time to build, and in some cases, repair our bridges to equity. Join us during this year's Stand Against Racism campaign and every day to bring awareness to racism within our communities and connect with other activists and allies to build pathways towards racial equity and ultimately justice. This year, we were proud to receive the Stand Against Racism proclamation from the Janesville City Council. Please join me in welcoming YWCA Rock County Executive Director Heidi Deininger to read the Stand Against Racism proclamation in English, and then Gina Insuza, YWCA Rock County Immigrant Outreach Program Director, will read the proclamation in Spanish. Please help me in joining each.
Thank you, Amy. And I actually have this beautiful proclamation from the City of Janesville with me here today, and I will read right from that. Will do. Thank you. All right. Whereas, so a resolution recognizing April 25th, 2024 as Stand Against Racism Day in the City of Janesville. Whereas all residents, regardless of race, creed, or ethnicity, deserve to be treated with dignity, respect, compassion, and justice. And whereas Janesville residents value initiatives that will end race-based disparities and make the world a more equitable, inclusive, and dignified place for all to live. And whereas the elimination of racism can be achieved only with the participation of residents in dialogue, reflection, and action. And whereas the City of Janesville supports the YWCA Rock County and its praiseworthy mission to eliminate racism, empower women, stand up for social justice, help families, and strengthen communities. And whereas the City Council of Janesville proudly joins the YWCA Rock County in celebration of Stand Against Racism, a signature campaign of the YWCA USA and YWCA Rock County to build community among those who work for racial justice and to raise awareness about the negative impact of institutional and structural racism in our communities, support 2024 Stand Against Racism theme, building bridges to equity. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Janesville hereby declares Thursday, April 25th, 2024, as YWCA of Rock County Stand Against Racism Day and encourages residents, local businesses, educators, and community and faith-based organizations to celebrate diversity and advocate for the elimination of racism. Dated this 22nd day of April 2024. Signed by our City Council President and City Manager. Thank you. And now I'll have Gina come up.
Proclamación 25 de abril, Día de Lucha contra el Racismo. Por cuanto todos los residentes, independientemente de su raza, credo o etnia, merecen ser tratados con dignidad, respeto, compasión y justicia. Y por cuanto los residentes del condado de Rock valoran las iniciativas que terminarán con las disparidades basadas en la raza y harán del mundo un lugar más equitativo, inclusivo y digno para que todos vivan. Y por cuanto la ciudad de Janesville apoya al YWCA del condado de Rock en su misión de eliminar el racismo, empoderar a las mujeres, defender la justicia social, ayudar a las familias y fortalecer las comunidades. Y por cuanto la ciudad de Janesville, en celebración de su evento en contra del racismo, una campaña exclusiva del YWCA USA y YWCA Rock County para construir una comunidad entre quienes trabajan por la justicia racial y crear conciencia sobre el impacto negativo del racismo institucional y estructural. En nuestras comunidades apoyamos el tema del 2024 en contra del racismo, construyendo puentes para la equidad. Ahora y por lo tanto se ha resuelto por la Junta de Supervisores de la ciudad de Janesville, declara el 25 de abril del 2024 como el Día de Lucha contra el Racismo en el Condado de Rock y alienta a los residentes, negocios locales, educadores y organizaciones comunitarias y religiosas para celebrar la diversidad y abogar por la eliminación del racismo.
Thank you, ladies. I now have the pleasure to introduce our two student speakers. We will first hear from CJ Breaker. CJ is a junior at Craig High School and an outstanding saxophone player who loves music. Racial justice is important to CJ because it removes inequities and prevents race-based ranking. After CJ finishes, we will hear from Kalia Hodges. Kalia is a sophomore at Craig High School. She is a part of the varsity basketball team and loves original writings. Please join me in welcoming CJ and then Kalia.
Culture presents itself in many ways. This year, I have accepted the culture of ease. Each day should be a step towards equity, and I don't think that needs to be complex. Life is enjoyable when simple, so I'd like to share 5 ways to simply change the world around you. 1. Learn at every opportunity. In order to push towards an equitable future, you must understand why you have that goal and who shared it before you. 2. Make room for all the voices you fight for. To be given the chance to learn, you have to listen to those who are oppressed. Clearing space for unheard voices invites room for progress. 3. Reflect on your own bias. Everybody carries bias of some kind, so if you notice and correct it, you're pushing towards an equitable future. 4. Find the simple similarities in life. While preaching diversity and celebrating our differences is important, sometimes it's easier to begin with the common ground. When you step back and look at any person, you can find the ties you have to one another. And finally, 5, spread your belief. When fighting for equity, you can't back down. It's easy to give in to those around you, especially if they don't share your care. But you must remember that not everyone has the opportunity to ignore hate. When given the chance to speak out against the people who push in the wrong direction, do so. While it may seem like a large task, ending injustice can be simple. It begins with you and me, changing the little things we do. As you leave today, take time to think about 5 things you can do to change the world around you.
How they see us, right?
how they see us fight, how they see us turn against each other and not recognize each other, how they see us as individuals but not as a whole, how they see us. They say, treat others how you want to be treated, but that's not how they see us. When I walk into a classroom, I can count on one hand how many Black people are in there, but it's how they see us. When I walk down the hallways, I can't find my people, but it's how they see us. When I look at a picture with multiple people, I don't see my kind, but it's how they see us. A wrapper on the floor they continue stepping on without picking it up. The tissue that drags under their foot as they keep walking. A food that you don't like. That's right, go ahead, throw it away. You see now? Never mind, no you don't. A book that you looked at and ain't even read. Not the description, not the first page, not the title, nor the author. An assessment you ain't even tried to attempt. You would rather scroll on your phone than to hear me voice to you how I feel. Okay, I'm done. But am I? I have one question. Ask yourself, how do you see us? I feel unheard. My people don't walk. We feel like we have to tiptoe. My people can't be comfortable. We have to look around and see who's all around us. We see all eyes on us. Look at the school. Look at these walls. Look at these floors. Take a look at the bathrooms. You're thinking about that, but for some reason, you just forgot that fast is my voice you hear. Look around. That's how they see us.
Our students never disappoint. Thank you both for those powerful messages. Thank you both for sharing today. A first step in building bridges to equity is hearing each other's perspectives. It always makes me proud to see young people who are brave enough to share their voice, and to do it in front of a crowd is impressive. So thank you again. It is now my pleasure to introduce to each of us and present to some our keynote speaker. This year I am so pleased to be joined on stage by Rubina Jan. Rubina is an instructor at Black Hawk Technical College with a passion for DEI and is a lifelong learner. Her motto for a recent academic year was dignity, resilience, and equity-focused growth mindset. Imagine how much the world would change if all of us took that on. I'll repeat, dignity, resilience, and equity-focused growth mindset. Born in Pakistan, Rubina has lived in Wisconsin since 1980. Prior to that, she lived in Toronto. In addition to teaching, Rubina serves as a co-advisor for the Multicultural Alliance, MCA at Black Hawk. She is also a member of the Friends of the Cupboard, an initiative to help address food insecurity on campus. She's a strong proponent of community service and serves on the community for the college that addresses community engagement. When I reached out to ask Rubina to join us today, she responded by stating that she was humbled and honored to be asked to serve as the keynote for the YWCA Stand Against Racism program in Janesville. She shared with me that she was the first student who interned at the YWCA Rock County when the shelter opened. Please join me in welcoming Rubina.
So very much. Greetings, everybody. It is absolutely an honor and a pleasure to be here with you, to be celebrating the immensely important work that the YWCA has been doing for years within our community and within our nation. Being an educator, I did prepare some remarks, so I'm going to go ahead and, rather than just engage in general conversation, go through the remarks equally as much. Anytime that you would like to comment, you're more than welcome to. We're all here to affirm our commitment to combating racism in all of its forms and to really support and celebrate diversity rather than to be afraid of diversity. I would absolutely be remiss if I did not acknowledge some of the domestic homicides that we've experienced in our own community, in the state, and across the nation, and all of the hard work, not only by all of our community partners, but particularly the law enforcement community. I would like to start by sharing a quote from Maya Angelou, and rather than read the quote to you, she partly talks about diversity as a beautiful tapestry. And every component, every color, every thread of the tapestry is what makes it beautiful. If we begin to think about diversity in exactly the same way, it's all of the knowledge, all of the skills, all of the strengths, and many of the weaknesses that we also bring to the table. How do we really begin to function as a community, engage in cooperation, collaboration, rather than always engaging in competition? Next item that I would like to briefly reference would be the American Psychological Association. They view racism as a persistent and pervasive social issue that has profound psychological, emotional effects not only on individuals, but on all of our communities. From systemic inequalities to overt acts of discrimination, every facet of our society is affected in deleterious ways as a result of the fact that all of us are not there to be fully seen, as was shared previously by the students. Much like what the students said, if we really begin to see each other, value each other as individual human beings, all of us as communities and part of the human family will be strengthened. In the face of adversity, we are here because we refuse to be silenced. We refuse to accept the status quo. We stand united in our commitment to justice and equality. I would like to share 4 steps in building a more equitable future. 1 would be education and awareness. 2 would be advocacy and allyship. 3 would be policy reform. 4 would be community engagement. And I'm going to go back briefly to add a little bit more detail to each one of those 4 steps. So Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon which we can use to change the world. If we take time, we learn about each other, we learn about history, and as an educator, at the end of my remarks and at the end of the program, I did bring some books that I would like to share, and I'll certainly be happy to stick around if you would like to look at any of them. By fostering dialogue, challenging stereotypes, we partly have the capacity to be able to engage in the courageous conversations, whether it's on a daily basis, whether it's in our family, whether it's in our communities, consistent with some of the programming provided by the YWCA. Another example that I would like to reference would be the Racial Justice Conference by the Y again. And then I would absolutely wish to acknowledge the outreach services to the immigrant population. So truly, if we're being inclusive, how essential that we're providing service to every facet of our community. For advocacy and allyship, Desmond Tutu would be the individual whose remarks I would like to be able to reference. He said that if you and I are neutral in situations of injustice, you and I are on the side of the oppressors. Not all of us have the courage to be like Desmond Tutu or any of the activists that have come before us and opened up so many doors of opportunity. Still though, just like the students who spoke before me said, if every single day we make an effort to be able to make the difference that you and I have the capacity to, it will begin to have ripple effects throughout our communities. Allyship is about engagement and solidarity. It's about being an upstander rather than a bystander. An upstander rather than a bystander. Another example that I would wish to reference would be James Baldwin, and one of the terms or concepts that I really like from his work is the idea of the welcome table. The welcome table. So everybody is welcome, no matter who you and I are. And if we can really begin to respect each other, we'll find common ground with each other. Policy reform would be President Obama, who I would like to reference, who said, "We are the change that we've been waiting for. We are the change that we've been waiting for." So social justice is truly all hands on deck effort and project. We need to be able to reform many of our systems. So individuals matter a great deal, and how we change is very important. Still though, no matter how much change individuals engage in, if systemic barriers continue to be present, progress will be thwarted time and time again. One of the examples, partly because my background is education, that I would like to use would be, it's actually the title of one of the books from AAC&U, Walking the Talk. Walking the talk. So as somebody who's lived in the community over an extended period of time, I'm very glad that we're here to have this conversation, but I also recognize that we do a lot of talking many times, yet walking the talk is much more important. A related concept within education is college-ready students. College-ready students. So the idea that we pass blame back and forth, whether it's on the K through 12 system, whether it's private school systems, whether it's technical colleges or the university system, all of our jobs are to make sure that we're serving students effectively, rather than being barriers in the way of their success. Item number 4 is community engagement. And I'm thrilled to be able to see many individuals that are representing not only local government, but state representation as well. The next remark that I'd like to share with you is a quote by Audre Lorde. She says, "It's not our difference that divide us. It's our inability to recognize, accept, and celebrate those differences." The fact that you and I are here is clearly an indication of the fact that what we value is the beauty of our differences. That's exactly what we need to help empower our communities to be able to recognize. Next brief item that I'd like to reference would be some of the work by John Powers out of Berkeley. Othering and Belonging Institute is the group. And their work really focuses on finding common ground within human differences. Yet what does the human community partly have the capacity to do? Rather than finding commonalities, we get stuck on the differences, on othering. In closing, I would like to be able to reference some of the work by Dr. King. One of his quotes is, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. I hope every single day, in every small way that you and I can make a difference, that's exactly what we'll be working towards. That's an important call to action today as much as it was back in the 60s. And truly, in terms of moving towards closing up remarks, how I'd like for us to think about diversity is not a zero-sum game where somebody wins and somebody loses. It's where all of us are cooperating, all of us are working together, and much like a family, that's what the strength of the human family, the strength of our community, and truly the strength of the YWCA is. I thank you very much. I'd be very happy to stick around afterwards. And actually, if I can make a plug for just one book, despite the fact that I brought more than one, and that's an occupational hazard. So the book that I would most like to recommend, it's one of the most powerful books that I've read, and it was part of our book discussion at the college. It's also available online as well as in our library. So if you happen to be interested, you're more than welcome to access it. The title of the book is Half American: The Epic Story of Americans Fighting World War II at Home and Abroad. Dr. Matthew Delmont is the author on it. I thank you very much.
Rubina, thank you so much for that powerful message. I'm laughing because you brought books, because I brought one too that I'll talk about later. So I appreciate your assortment. So now it's time for us to do our public recommitment of sorts. Hopefully, everyone has received a pocket Stand Against Racism pledge. If you have not, please raise your hand, and Andrew is going to help me out and make sure that everyone has one. So while we're waiting for everyone to receive a copy of their pledge, I just want to thank Jack's Custom Printing I sent them my design last year, and well, my idea, and they turned it into this beautiful trifold that we hope that you will keep. Mine stays in my wallet, and I just think it's a nice reminder of the commitment that we will make together. This was adopted on April 10th, 2006 by YWCA USA. Andrew and Brittany, thank you so much. There is no way we could put together these programs without the help from our staff. So we are so excited to have them pulling in like we do for all of our events. I'm very grateful. All right, so as we are able, we will stand together. Mindful of the continuing affliction of institutional and structural racism, as well as the daily realities of all forms of bias, prejudice, and bigotry in my own life, my family, my circle of friends, my co-workers, and the society in which I live. With conviction and hope, I take this pledge, fully aware that the struggle to eliminate racism will not end with a mere pledge, but calls for an ongoing transformation within myself and the institutions and structures of our society. I pledge to look deeply and continuously in my heart and my mind to identify all signs and vestiges of racism, to rebuke the use of racist language and behavior towards others, to root out such racism in my daily life and in my encounters with persons I know and with strangers I do not know, and to expand my consciousness to be more aware and sensitive to my use of overt and subtle expressions of racism and racial stereotypes. I pledge to educate myself on racial justice issues and share what I learned in my own communities, even if it means challenging my family, my partner, my children, my friends, my coworkers, or those I encounter on a daily basis. I pledge within my means to actively work to support public policy solutions that prominently, openly, and enthusiastically promote racial equity in all aspects of human affairs, and to actively support and devote my time to YWCA, as well as other organizations working to eradicate racism from our society. YWCA is on a mission to eliminate racism and empower women. I join YWCA in taking a stand against racism today and every day. Thank you so much. Please take your seats. So we are a little ahead of schedule, which is absolutely fine. I have a few announcements and a couple more thank yous, and then I will yield the floor to our Executive Director, Heidi Deininger, for closing remarks. And please remember that standing against racism is not something that we only do at the end of April and beginning of May. It's a lifelong commitment. Please help me in welcoming Heidi Deininger, Executive Director, YWCA Rock County.
So as I kind of give some closing remarks, I want to call CJ and Kalia back up here. I think as we close today, it's very appropriate to have young people present and up on stage, because this is our future. And no, come closer. Instead, come one over here and one over here somewhere. Okay, I don't know about all of you out there, but as both of these young people spoke today, like I cried, literally cried, because I don't. And I'm going to take my time as I close today, since we do have extra time. I'm going to reflect as I talk, so I'm going to pause momentarily and think and speak. But as both of these young people spoke today, I thought about those times in my life when I felt a little bit like that, right? And about all the other people, especially the young people, and what they feel like when they go to school and they experience what these two young people shared. And I think as we were reading the proclamation today, there's a line in the proclamation that says, you know, as we move forward, we need to dialogue. Like we can't move the needle if we don't talk, if we don't reflect, and if we don't act. And I think what both of you said today really fit in with that. Both of you took time to talk about aspects in that space. And as you know, I've been here now since September of 2022. Which isn't that long, you know? It doesn't feel like that long. Some of you might say, that's a long time. You've had your introductory period, but it doesn't really feel that long when you get to know a community and you get to know a people. And when I first got here, being made to feel welcomed was so important to make me start to feel a part of this community. People who actually reached out, and definitely our police department does that every day with the YWCA. You guys constantly reach out and make us feel a part of our community. Rock County, Randy and Josh, the fact, you know, it surprised me. I guess Josh, you know, always goes out and meets the new people in the community. And I was actually going out the door to go meet him because I didn't think he was coming to see me, and he actually showed up at the door, and that doesn't happen very often, you know? And so I really appreciated that, because that made me feel so welcomed and a part of our community, as well as the other insight and help we get from Rock County. For AAUW and Zonta, who are present and out there today, gosh, thank you. You guys make us feel welcomed and a part of our community. My wonderful board chair who's sitting out there, Adrian Graham, whose mother and generations has grown up serving here in Janesville, Sue Connolly, who has made us feel welcome. You know, all those moments, and for anybody else I didn't mention, for those moments you took to get to know us, that makes a huge difference. So how do we hold ourselves accountable to this work? Amy asks me that all the time. How does the YWCA hold ourselves, our organization, accountable to this work? And I'm going to tell you a few things that we're doing right now, because I think it's important for you to know. Well, one thing is we got to go out and talk to people. We have to get out in the community and continue to tell people what we do, not only in racial justice, but in our crisis services, our crisis and empowerment services. We have a domestic shelter that's 24 hours that helps not only the people that are in the shelter, but anybody that's out in our community who needs help because they're facing domestic violence. You can call us and we're going to help you. Our transitional housing program, our care house that sees all the sexually and physically abused children in our county, not just in Janesville. They come to us and we work with the police and the DA and we help those families and those children. You know, for our transitional housing program right downtown here that helps, again, victims of domestic violence. Our child care program that's in 11, 12 different schools out in our communities in Milton and in Janesville. That work, you know, is so powerful. We've got to let people know that we do that. But in racial justice specifically, what we're doing is we are launching a training program that is a little bit more elevated for all of our staff so that they can understand the work that we do, right? Shame on us if that's our mission and we're not educating our own people about what that work looks like. Another thing that we are doing that is, I think, powerful is we have a board retreat tomorrow, and our board is actually having is going to have a great experience with Amy coming as they learn about our mission. But we need to make sure we know our mission, we're living our mission, and we're spreading our mission of eliminating racism and empowering women out in the community to the best of our ability. So again, going back to that proclamation, reflect, dialogue, and action. And I think both of these young people talked about what that might look like in different ways. And I think about three things that I thought about as I stood up here that I've faced that would be helpful. And these are three small things you can do out into the community and here in Janesville, is when you walk into a room and you look around the room, and I do the same thing. I count how many people look like me, and often it is on one hand or, you know, less than these 5 figures. And it automatically makes you feel uncomfortable. If you walk into a space and you look around the room and you see somebody standing there, like scrolling on their phone because they have nothing else to do to make them feel a part of that group, go over and start a conversation with them and talk to them and make them feel a part of whatever group it is that you are in. The second thing is, we have courageous conversations. We have lunch and learns. They're open to everyone in the community. If you don't know, get on one of those groups and start to learn. I think that is so powerful. And the third thing is, and I challenged my husband. My husband's a teacher at Craig, so a lot of you guys know him. I already talked to you some about him. I said to him one day, I said, honey, how come when we have people over, we don't have a diverse group come over from your friends? Like, where's the diversity in the people that you bring to the house? When you lived in Hawaii with me for 13 years, you always brought over a very diverse group of people, and we would have a party or a celebration at the home and, you know, eat together and fellowship. And he goes, Heidi, I don't work with anybody that is diverse. I can't invite anybody if I don't work with anybody. And I said, I'm going to challenge you, honey. Go out there and look and meet. And he goes, you mean like go out there and do some research and purposely meet somebody who's different? And I go, yes, I go do that. And so I encourage all of you, if none of you have ever had anybody over to your home or gone out to dinner or had coffee with somebody who is maybe from a different culture or a different race, maybe try to do that one time this year and see what you feel and see what you learn, because all those little things make a huge difference for Janesville to become, for Rock County to become that welcoming community. So I really do appreciate this moment in time to say that to you, and I appreciate you all being here, and we're so thankful, like Amy said, that you gathered here, because just being here today shows that you care about this work, and we are so appreciative. If you ever want to call and have a conversation about racial justice, please call the YWCA, or about diversity, equity, inclusion, or about race or multiculturalism. We welcome those conversations, and we want to be a positive force in our community for those conversations. So thank you so much for being here today. Thank you to these young people who are so brave to speak those words and tell it like it is and to have their voice heard, because that's how it starts with everybody doing that. So thank you very much for being here today. You guys were amazing.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
All right, so that concludes our program today. We hope that this has been time well spent for you. Thank you so much for coming out. You all have been an amazing audience. Thank you.